Today I will be covering Viśiṣṭādvaita Vedānta, and together we will see how qualified it is. The text Yatindra Mata Dipika begins by dividing all objects of knowledge or prameyas into broad categories. Dravya meaning substances and adravya meaning non-substance, that is, entities that cannot independently act but always depend upon a substance. Among these 6 dravyas are Prakṛti, Kala, Nitya Vibhuti, Dharma-bhūta-jñāna, Jiva and Ishvara. We will examine each of them in turn. The first of these is Prakṛti, the primordial matter from which the entire physical universe evolves. It is the material cause of the cosmos, yet it is entirely insentient, possessing no consciousness of its own. Unlike the eternal spiritual realm, Prakriti is constituted by the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Because it is the original source of all material existence, it is also called Mula Prakriti. In its causal state before creation begins, it is known as Avyakta, meaning unmanifest. At this stage, all names and forms remain undifferentiated within it. Since this unmanifest condition conceals direct knowledge of reality, the text also refers it to as avidya and maya. Prior to creation, the 3 gunas remain in perfect equilibrium, leaving Prakriti completely unmanifest. Creation only begins when, through the will of Bhagavan, the at equilibrium is disturbed. From that point onward, the entire universe gradually unfolds through a series of successive transformations. The first transformation is Mahat, the cosmic principle that itself exists in 3 forms, according to the predominance of sattva, rajas or tamas. From Mahat arises Ahamkara, the principle of egoity, which likewise appears in 3 forms: Satvik Ahankara, also known as Vaikārika, Rajasika Ahankara, known as Taijasa, and Tamasa Ahankara, known as Bhutadi. Each performs a distinct function in the process of creation. Assisted by the Rajasa aspect, the Satvika Ahankara gives rise to the 11 Indriyas, the 5 organs of knowledge, the 5 organs of action, and the mind. Likewise, assisted by the Rajasa aspect, the Tamasa Ahankara produces the 5 Tanmatras or subtle elements, from which the 5 gross elements subsequently evolve. The order of creation therefore proceeds as follows. Prakriti gives rise to Mahat, Mahat gives rise to Ahamkara, Ahamkara produces the Indriyas and the Tanmatras. From the Tanmatras emerge the 5 gross elements that constitute the material universe. The text is careful to explain that this process should not be understood as creating entirely new entities out of nothing. Rather, it is an avastha parinama, a change of state. Cause and effect are not fundamentally different realities. They are simply earlier and later conditions of the underlying substance. What appears as an effect already existed within its cause in a subtler condition. This is the doctrine known as Satkaryavada, or more specifically Parinamavada. Every effect pre-exists within its cause, and creation is simply the manifestation of what was already present, rather than production from absolute non-existence. The text illustrates this through examples such as a palm leaf ornament or collective terms like an army, forest or a heap, where a new designation arises because of a different arrangement or state rather than because an entirely new entity has come into existence. From Prakriti arise what the system calls the 24 tattvas. Prakriti itself, Mahat, Ahamkara, the 11 Indriyas, the 5 Tanmatras, and finally the 5 gross elements. This account also serves a philosophical purpose by tracing every stage of material evolution back to a back to a single primordial substance. The text rejects systems that admit either more or fewer fundamental categories, such as the Pashupatas, and also rejects the Vaisheshika view that eternal atoms constitute the material cause of the universe. Prakriti and everything that evolves from it ultimately exists for bhoga or experience. They function as the objects of experience, the means through which experience occurs, and the abodes in which experience takes place. The 14 worlds we constitute in these abodes, while the cosmic egg itself is formed from the quintuplicated 5 gross elements, providing the material universe in which embodied existence unfolds. Having explained the material universe, the text turns to its complete opposite, Nitya Vibhuti, the eternal spiritual realm. Unlike Prakriti, Nitya Vibhuti is constituted entirely of Shuddha Sattva, pure matter, a unique spiritual substance completely free from Rajas and Tamas. It is therefore untouched by ignorance, suffering, decay, or material limitation. Nitya Vibhuti is also known as Paramapada, Tripat Vibhuti, and Anandaloka. Within this eternal realm lies Vaikuṇṭha, the supreme abode of Vishnu. Everything that exists there is composed of Shuddha Sattva. The bodies of Ishvara, the eternal attendants known as the Nitya Suris, and even the liberated souls are all constituted from this spiritual substance. Every object, every activity, and every aspect of existence in Vaikuṇṭha exists solely for the pleasure of Ishvara. Liberation, however, does not mean becoming identical with God or sharing His Lordship. Rather, liberated souls become free from suffering, possess unobstructed knowledge, attain perfect bliss, and even extraordinary powers while remaining eternally dependent upon Him. The inhabitants of Vaikuṇṭha therefore consist of 3 groups: the Ishvara himself, the Nitya Suris who were never bound by samsara, and the Mukta Jivas, souls that were once bound but have now attained liberation. The next substance is perhaps one of the most distinctive doctrines of Viśiṣṭādvaita, Dharma-bhūta-jñāna. This is the consciousness possessed by the Ajiva. Through it, the soul perceives the world, remembers the past, forms intentions, and experiences emotions, and performs every act of cognition. In other words, Dharma-bhūta-jñāna is what makes conscious experience possible. It occupies a unique place within the system because it is regarded as both a dravya and a guna. It is a substance insofar as it undergoes contraction and expansion, yet it is also an attribute because it inheres within both the Jiva and Ishvara. In the state of bondage, this consciousness is contracted through the effects of karma, restricting the soul's knowledge through karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, and ultimately anugraha, divine grace. It gradually becomes purified and expands. In liberation, every limitation disappears, allowing immediate, direct, and limitless knowledge.